I want to talk to you about something. I don't think we ever talked about this before, so I don't fully know your views on this or really know your views on at all, which is something I've been starting to notice a lot more. I think it's actually getting worse, or maybe I'm just focused on it more, which is the complete predominance of culture war issues when it comes to left liberal discourse. I have spent my career talking about a kind of set of issues that is about things like the evils of the U.S. security state, the FBI, the CIA, the NSA, spying, privacy, free speech, corporatism, the capture of government and regulatory processes by large corporations. Those are the issues on which I've focused most. I've never thought that meant that those were the only issues that matter. I know there are issues on which I don't focus, including, say, healthcare policy, which I don't focus on because I don't know very much about it. I don't have, an expert level understanding to offer. But certainly those issues have always been very important to left liberal politics. I mean, all those years when I was focused on them, I was considered as part of the left, as being on the left, precisely because those issues have been so important. If you go and watch or listen to kind of the leading independent left liberal media outlets. I'm not talking about Revolutionary Blackout Network, which is the real left. I'm talking about the part of the left that identifies as the left, but still kind of the AOC Bernie left, all the things that you just described about them. It is really almost culture war issues and trans issues and those sorts of things to the exclusion of almost everything else. There's currently this kind of cancellation campaign underway aimed at the Young Turks, and in particular, Cenk Uygur and Anna Kasparian, the two hosts, because there's some, it started in some way because they started talking in kind of a right-wing way about crime and homelessness, because sort of the standard, a conservative is a liberal who got mugged. They were, I guess Anna was walking on the street and started getting bothered by homeless people and started ranting and raving about crime, and they endorsed Rick Caruso. But really the true precipitating event was Anna Kasparian's heresy on not trans issues in general, where I would say she supports the kind of general trans agenda of legal rights and the like for trans people, 95%, probably more than most Americans do. But, some of these kind of turf talking points about language that gets used for female reproductive parts that she's offended by and things of that nature, the sports issue. And what really amazes me is, for me, the Young Turks has for years taken all kinds of positions that should be totally anathema to left liberal politics. I mean, Anna Kasparian, in what looked like a paid interview for NATO, interviewed Madeleine Albright, one of the worst warmongers in the world, and he praised on her for like an hour straight. Nobody cared. No one resigned from the Young Turks over it, because these issues of like imperialism and militarism and corporatism almost have no weight at all in a lot of left-wing discourse now. In fact, if you talk about those things, they almost code as being on the right. And I'm just wondering what you make of that. If you agree with that analysis that the culture war is kind of drowning out these other issues, I think in part because it's just so much easier and lower hanging fruit to take on. But also, if you do agree with it, what do you make of it? Why is that happening?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm gonna avoid mentioning names here, but there's so many people on the fake left that they take their cues of leftism based on the Democratic Party, whether they will acknowledge that or not. And so their biggest issues are whatever Nancy Pelosi is tweeting about. And then they may take a further left position for that. Nancy Pelosi she would tweet about the importance of the Supreme Court, and they would say we need to expand the Supreme Court, or they would talk about abortion rights because Democrats took these things out. And obviously the trans issues is another one. And that's how they define their leftism. And they play a game with the right. And this is where the red-blue game is fraudulent in a lot of ways, where they push out the culture war, and both the left and the right are both massively guilty of this, because I do not think it's a coincidence in an era where Americans are more class conscious than ever, where Americans are ready for a third party, where Americans want health care, where they want actually living wage, when they want actually economic reforms, that now they now
and an end to endless war, and an end to endless war as well.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Yes, and there's in our generation, because I grew up during the Iraq War, and that's why I focus on foreign policy first and foremost on RBN. Because it radicalized the entire generation. So to distract people from war, which the Democratic Party escalating on, and to distract from the homeless issue they're complicit with the growing police state that we're being surrounded by, they have to push culture war issues. And I think there is legitimate concerns that if you're from the trans community or from any community to fight for your rights, that's a legitimate struggle. My question is, why is there a random white guy in Kentucky where there's like 3 trans people within a 500-mile radius who's tweeting about this issue every single day? And it's because he's being programmed by the media, the right-wing media, and the left-wing media that's more than happy to do the dance with them about that. See, now at Revolutionary Blackout, we define the traditional left values of challenging and implementing reforms on the government and actual social revolutionary reform as leftism, challenging empire as leftism, addressing material reality as leftism, which is why the fact that anyone gave TYT credibility before was absurd. When you look at Anna Consparian's insane anti-homeless takes, when you look at the fact that they pretty much support the Democratic Party's push for every single war, and there's many other left bourgeoisie commentators like Sam Cedar who famously said in a debate with Jackson Hinkle that he don't care about how much the police is funded more. Like, so these actual real issues on the role of state and government power in the military industrial complex and the prison industrial complex, it pales in comparison whenever Anna Consparian says something that's right in the middle of the road where I'm from in Missouri, Glenn. And now this is a question I propose for these leftists like that freaking out over TYT, Anna Consparian, and the ilk. Do they realize that if you go to Brazil, there are many Black evangelical socialists and communists who support Lula, who are very economically left. Many of them are socialists and communists, and they are evangelical. And they do not have the standard position of the liberals regarding gay rights and the such, and abortion and the such. So who are you guys actually fighting for? Do you not? Are we not fighting for these people? There are very good people I know in the Midwest that may have ignorant takes. So are they being canceled? Or are we fighting for Medicare for all, or Medicare for only the people with good takes on the trans issue? Now, I think we should take any time when we're movement building to educate people, and that's what I do. I stand in solidarity with my trans and gay brothers. I know a lot of them. I got a lot of great friends, so I stand in solidarity. I try to educate people away from bigoted views, but you do that while building a movement to address people's material needs, because that bond is how you break those ignorant cycles. But Glenn, what do? They cancel. They shut down discourse. They don't want debate. They don't want people to get together and learn from each other, even correcting each other and organizing against the establishment. So people like TYT and many other liberals who's going after them right now, their job is to pick the culture war and divide the worker, just like the establishment won. Just in a nutshell, Glenn.
You know, I think the last point is such an important one. I mean, I do want to say, like, I also think there is a commercial motive to it, which is, I can tell you for sure, you know, I almost never cover trans issues on the show. Again, it's not because I don't think they're important. I think for a lot of people, they're important in ways that you alluded to. But I was telling you, you know, if I did it once or twice a night, it's the easiest content in the world to do. You know, you just kind of connect to some like controversy about like some athlete or someone using the bathroom or some like male prisoner and a female who got put into a female facility or whatever. People get really riled up by it. You don't have to do much preparation. It doesn't take much research. The view count goes up. I think it's one of the reasons, but I also think the main reason is that it's one of the very few places where the Republican Party and the Democratic Party actually have a difference. I think that's why these kind of right-wing polemicists who are obsessed with anti-trans rhetoric are kind of in a codependent relationship with the people who are on the left wing who are just as obsessed with it. They kind of need each other because it is an easy way out to avoid talking about Ukraine or militarism or the control of the internet by the CIA and the FBI and this court ruling that just happened, the persecution of anti-establishment voices on both the left and the right, including that case of the Black radicals who are now prosecuted by the Biden DOJ as Russian agents, which almost nobody in the left liberal media even bothered to cover, let alone denounce. It's kind of like an easy way out. I think you're exactly right as well. You know, the reason why the gay and lesbian movement ultimately ended up successful is not because activists in the movement went around demanding that everybody who uttered a heretical view got fired or banned or ignored or whatever. There were a lot of people who were potential allies of the left, including a lot of African Americans who were very religious, who were taught that gay and lesbian relationships are sinful, and the ability to engage with people and to engage in dialogue with them and to work with them ultimately is what convinced people that a lot of these demonization images that they had been given about gay men and lesbians were wrong. It was through engagement and interaction and like a respectful, engaged dialogue. And ultimately, it was really about nothing other than, as you say, kind of just interacting with people in a normal, healthy way without bashing them over the head or telling them they were irredeemably evil people. And this seems to be exactly the antithesis of what a lot of left-wing politics is about. And I think in a lot of ways, it's because it's the easy way out. If you get to denounce people, if you get to call people evil, you get to sit back and say, God, I've done my job. I'm a really good person. And that is politics to them.
Yeah, that's how they convince themselves they're good people, even though they may have gotten their wealth through ill-gotten means. How many videos have we seen from Raytheon talking about their diversity? Right, Wall Street, who plundered and destroyed black wealth, talking about how they got diversity programs to get black women in high positions of power.
Remember the CIA ad about the woman who was like with various forms of mental health pathologies and, a first generation non-binary immigrant. And this is the CIA touting this.
Yeah, and they replace actual liberation of the working class and improving material needs for these suburban bourgeoisie issues. To be frank, and that's how they sleep well at night, even though they support blue dog Democrats, even though they vote for Joe Biden, who is escalating World War III. That's how they sleep at night. Now, I want to go back kind of to the social war issues as well, because I feel like there are a lot of people who are taught to skip steps, and maybe that benefit the Democrat Party. Maybe you can make the argument, but a lot of them have adopted this authoritarian mindset that is not helpful. Even if I agree with you guys on the premise of the social issues, having this authoritarian mindset where we're not going to have a community built where we educating people the way every single social movement ever works. Instead, you guys said we're going to rely on the government stranglehold over Twitter and social media to censor people, cut people off for community, and ban people from organizing together. The best way to have a real empathy-based working class is have one that's one to have conversation and grow from each other, and that comes from us acknowledging each other's material needs, and that is not what the liberal bourgeoisie class that support Joe Biden has in common with us. So what do, Glenn? They peddle in nonstop culture war nonsense. Anna Kasparian, for example, since we mentioned her before, is a multi-millionaire who never worked a real honest day in her life. So what does she have to connect herself to the worker to make it like they're on the side? It's just nonstop red blue culture war nonsense, and that's what it is.